Who doesn't love Pokémon? We've been obsessed with the franchise ever since Pokémon Red and Blue came into our lives all the way back in 1998. While the games are for those of all ages, it hasn't stopped theorists like us from thinking that it's not all sunshine and rainbows in the Pokémon world. There are plenty of dark secrets that nobody wants to talk about, and today, we'll try to figure out what happened to Blue's Raticate. To get to the bottom of the story about Blue's Raticate, you have to start all the way back at the beginning. The premise of Pokémon Red and Blue is as simple as it gets. You name your character, pick a starter, and battle other trainers using Pokémon on your journey to collect 8 badges so you can challenge the Elite Four, and eventually the champion to become the Pokémon champion yourself. On your journey through the Kanto region, you'll often encounter your rival, the grandson of Professor Oak, who you name at the beginning of the game. His default name is Blue, so that's what we'll refer to him as, even if you know him as Gary, Jimothy, or Dumbo. Anyway, Blue's a very cocky and unfriendly kid who's always one step ahead of you, getting badges left, right, and center. Yet for whatever reason, he can never defeat you in a Pokémon battle. It's quite odd. Once you reach the end game and face off against the Pokémon champion, it shocked us as kids to realize that we had to go toe-to-toe with our rival to determine who's the best Pokémon trainer in Kanto. Your rival became Pokémon champion before you because he's also been through his fair share of hardships, and overcame all of them through sheer perseverance and determination. What hardships are we talking about? Well, it has to do with Blue's Raticate. As kids, we typically didn't pay too much attention to our rival's party. Over the course of Pokémon Red and Blue, he starts building up a larger and more powerful team, just like you do. Before it evolved into Raticate, we first saw Rattata in Blue's party in the third rival battle at Cerulean City, or second if you skipped the optional one at Route 22 to the west of Viridian City. There, it was at level 15, but already had a full moveset. Later, in the fourth rival battle of the SS Anne luxury cruise liner you boarded on the docks of Vermilion City that supposedly sails the world, you fight Blue again. And things are very interesting this time around. He no longer has a Rattata, but a level 16 Raticate. Now, if you know as much about the Generation 1 Pokemon games as we do, you know it's impossible to get a Raticate at a lower level than 20. For starters, Rattata only evolves into Raticate at level 20, so how the heck did Blue get one at level 16? He obviously must have caught it at a lower level in the wild then, right? Wrong. There are only 4 routes where you could catch Raticate in Pokemon Red and Blue. Route 16, 17, 18, and 21. At these routes, the lowest level Raticate you can catch is level 23. So that means Blue's Raticate must have somehow evolved at level 16 because it was still a Rattata at level 15, and he couldn't have caught the Raticate in the wild. We'll get into this a bit later, but things start to get even crazier in the 5th rival battle. For starters, this battle occurs in Lavender Town, you know, the creepiest place in the game. The second you enter the area, you get chills going down your spine as the creepy music starts to play. In fact, the music was so creepy on the original Japanese version that they had to alter it for the North American versions. It sparked an urban legend that this was changed because the original music was at such a high frequency, it made hundreds of children between the ages of 7 to 12 take their own lives. We think it just caused minor headaches, but many people believe Lavender Town Syndrome is a real thing, and Nintendo is hiding the truth from us. You could believe what you want, but this is just a little bit much. Anyway, in Lavender Town, you face off against Blue in the Pokémon Tower, which, if you didn't know, is a multi-floor cemetery for Pokémon. Yeah, that's not the best place for a Pokémon battle, but who are we to judge? During the battle, you'll notice one of Blue's Pokémon is missing, and you guessed it, it's his Raticate that you just saw when you battled him on the SS Anne. It's not like any other Pokémon got taken out of his party either. His Pidgeotto, Kadabra, and of course, his starter from the previous battle are still on his team. But no Raticate. He adds 2 new Pokémon, depending on the starter you picked, but instead of going with a full team of 6, he leaves Raticate out. In future battles, we see all of these Pokémon stay, and he adds a 6th member of his party in Rhyhorn. But Raticate never makes another appearance in Blue's party. Again, it's just really weird. So what does this all mean exactly? Well, Raticate was the only Pokemon in Blue's party to evolve earlier than the level it typically evolves at, which isn't normal. It was also the only Pokemon he ever removed from his party, which also isn't normal. This leads us to believe that there's obviously something abnormal about this Raticate, which is where this theory truly comes to life. The original theory that you can find all over the internet believes that Raticate's absence stems from the third rival battle on board the SS Anne. When you inevitably defeat Blue, like you always do, you don't just make his Raticate faint. Oh no, this time, things take a severe turn for the worse. One of your Pokemon wounded Raticate so badly that it needed to be rushed to the Pokemon Center. Because of all the confusion on the ship, there was no one who could help Blue's Raticate out in time, and the Pokemon died in his arms. He ended up burying the body of the deceased Pokemon in Lavender Town's Pokemon Tower, where it can rest among the other Pokemon. And you battled Blue in the tower right after he paid his respects to his Raticate, which is why it's not in his party. We're not crying, you're crying. In the Pokemon world, we never really think of death. We tend to think Pokemon faint and don't die, but that's actually not the case. If they never died, why would the Pokemon Tower exist? It's a place to honor dead Pokemon, so the proof that they die is right in front of you. Sure, none of your Pokemon in the game can die, but this just goes to show that it has definitely happened. While we think there's a lot of merit to this theory, there are plenty of problems with it. It just explains how Blue's Raticate dies, but it doesn't explain how Blue had a level 16 Raticate in the first place. It's a part of Blue's Raticate that many people tend to ignore, but we think the fact that it's level 16 is actually the key to explaining all of this. We don't believe it was one of your Pokemon who gave Raticate a fatal wound. When you defeat his Raticate, it doesn't say you've dealt Raticate a fatal wound. It says enemy Raticate fainted. There's nothing there that indicates anything different happened to the Pokemon, so there's no clear evidence that Raticate is about to meet his maker. Blue also never talks about his Raticate in his dialogue. He mostly enjoys talking about how he's one step ahead of you and such a better Pokemon trainer. As if. Due to this, we decided to come up with our own spin on this theory. We think there was something wrong with Raticate all along. The Pokemon was born as a Rattata, with a genetic mutation that caused it to age quicker, resulting in a level 16 evolution as opposed to the typical level 20 evolution. This disease would later be too much for the Pokemon to handle, as Raticate died while Blue was on his way to Lavender Town. This is similar to an incredibly rare genetic disorder humans can have, known as progeria. Affecting 1 in every 18 million people, the symptoms of progeria resemble aspects of aging that manifest themselves at a very young age. And typically, those born with progeria only live to their mid-teens to early 20s. It's a brutal disease that has no cure, and we believe it's the same deal in the Pokemon world. Raticate was aging quicker than the normal Pokemon, and the disease got the best of him at a very low level. Another reason why Raticate dying from a sickness makes sense is because we've seen this happen in the Pokemon world before. In Pokemon Black and White, Alder, the champion of the Unova region's Pokemon League, tells you that his starter Pokemon died to an illness. He was unable to save his Pokemon and started traveling around aimlessly. Before the death of his starter Pokemon, he madly pursued strength, but everything changed once his Pokemon died. Alder's whole outlook on life changed that day, and he decided to use his power in a positive way by becoming the Pokemon champion. The illness his Pokemon had was never revealed, and neither was the identity of his starter Pokemon in Black and White, until dialogue in Pokemon Black and White 2 revealed it was Larvesta. Even in the anime, we've seen some Pokemon illness. When exposed to high levels of electromagnetic energy, electric-type Pokemon can be electrically overcharged. Magnemite and its evolutions are immune from the illness, but Pikachu came down with it once in episode 274 of the anime, Hoenn Alone. It's actually the final episode of the original series. Anyway, in the episode, Pikachu is very lethargic. There seems to be different stages to the illness, though. Pikachu just started with flu-like symptoms, but at a different time, the symptoms were so severe there was a threat that Pikachu would explode. Even other Pokemon like Dawn's Pachirisu had electrical overcharging at one point or another. The condition is cured by discharging electricity until the Pokemon's electricity levels are back to normal. We've also seen Pokemon come down with fever in the anime before. Meowth had a fever in episode 44, The Problem with Paris. He was cured quickly by creating a mixture of herbs and taking some pills before a meal. While he was sick, Meowth was limp and lacking energy. Whether it's from the games or the anime, Pokemon have gotten sick before, and even died from their illnesses, so unfortunately, the same could have happened to Blue's Raticate. We mentioned earlier that we think Blue was on his way to Lavender Town when Raticate passed away. This would explain why he stopped in the Pokemon Tower. He decided to get the Pokemon a grave and pay his respects before challenging you to a battle. He didn't have his Raticate with him for long, but they clearly shared a special bond, and Blue wanted to do what was right by Raticate. If this sounds familiar, it's because it's the exact same reasoning as the original theory we mentioned earlier. Hey, it just works, so we really don't need to put our own spin on that. That was a lot to take in, so we're just gonna give you a quick rundown of our theory. We believe your rival in Pokemon Red and Blue doesn't have Eradicate with him in your 4th battle in the Pokemon Tower because it died due to an illness that caused it to age quicker, making it evolve at level 16 instead of level 20. Your rival was there to pay his respects to his deceased Raticate, and then decided to battle you in honor of his former Pokemon. You end up beating him, obviously, so you definitely ruin the moment for him, but he never lets you know what he's going through. So don't beat yourself up about it. You did nothing wrong. When we said this was a dark and sad theory, we really weren't joking, but if you're still watching, you'll have figured that out by now. We're probably reading way too much into this, just like we always do here at CBR, but there's no denying something's definitely up with Blue's Raticate. Things just don't add up, but we feel like our theory is a great explanation for everything, even if it's a tad more depressing than the original theory. Another very plausible explanation to all of this is pretty simple. Gary realized Raticate isn't a very good Pokemon, and stored it in his PC. We hope this is the case for the sake of our childhood, but honestly, where's the fun in that? While it flawlessly explains everything that happened to Blue's Raticate, it's the lamest reasoning imaginable behind what happened. We want mind-blowing conspiracy theories, not boring reason. Whatever the case may be, we'd love it if Nintendo, the Pokemon Company, or even Game Freak finally spoke up to let us know the truth about Gary's Raticate. And that is what we believe might have happened to Blue's Raticate in Pokemon Red and Blue. Do you believe this theory? Is there another explanation to Raticate's disappearance from Blue's party? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more Pokemon content. Thanks for watching.